Well, putting a focus on ATO activity and the major change proposed from July next year, accountant and founder of Bond Financial, Sarah Pike, joining me to go through the details. First of all, let's discuss what this is all about and I guess what it means as well, because a big clampdown kind of coming.
Yeah, so look, that's already started to happen. So, and honestly, it's fair enough. Look, ATO debt before COVID was sitting at $26 billion. Now, that's a big number, but unfortunately, since COVID, at round about now, we're sitting at 52. It's literally doubled. Now, $34 billion of that is small business debt. So the ATO has gone, well, enough's enough. We need to start clawing some of this back. And essentially in doing that, there's two parts of that. They're clawing back on payment plans. So they're making it harder for people to get payment plans on debt that they have, and two is interest remissions. So it's putting more thorough and rigorous procedures in place to go, well, unless you have a really good excuse, you know, we're not necessarily going to give you back your interest that's been incurred.
But what if you had a debt and you couldn't pay it back? I mean, obviously that's going to be a huge impact. What are the alternatives here?
Yeah, so look, payment plans are one of the biggest things that the ATO has in its arsenal. In that, and look, it's no really different to dealing with the bank. You know, the ATO, you really should be dealing with it similarly to any other financial institution. It is unfortunate that I think a lot of people take that for granted and sort of go, well, ATO is sort of lender of last resort. We'll put that to the side and deal with everything else. But it is looking at your payment plans in the first instance. If you just can't get ahead, if you feel like you just can't make any headway on that, look, an option would be a small business restructure. So that's where you sit down with an insolvency practitioner and actually look at restructuring your business and the debt that you have, actually coming up with a deal with the ATO and going, well, what can we feasibly offer? What can we actually afford to pay? And then actually having that conversation and sort of getting ahead of it before you get to the point of no return. The only other thing that you can do, there is talk in the out there with some banks, top tier banks even, that they're looking at giving lending products for refinancing ATO debt. Now, I know a lot of that's not public at the moment, but that is looking like something that could happen in the near future.
So just talk us through a little bit more the clampdown that's coming in July next year, what it sort of involves.
Yeah, so that clampdown, so at the moment it's still proposed law, so it's actually open for submission still to the middle of this month. However, what they're proposing is basically from 1 July 2025, ATO interest on any of your debts, whether that's just sort of late payment penalty interest or interest on payment plans and that sort of thing, will no longer be deductible from 1 July 2025. Which is huge because it would essentially make ATO debt one of the most expensive forms of debt, given that you're not going to get a deduction for that interest.
Yeah, okay. So what, the fear obviously real. How can you minimise the ATO coming after you and of course incurring this debt in the first place?
Yeah, look, you just need to, it's like with a bank, it's like with your credit record, you want to be doing things on time and paying and lodging on time. So with the ATO, there's two parts to that. There's the lodgements and then there's the payments. So you should be lodging on time, lodging on the due dates, whether that's monthly, whether that's quarterly, lodging your tax return on time, and then there's paying on time. Now, if you can't physically pay that amount on the due date, make sure you are entering into a payment plan as soon as possible. So you're showing the ATO you've taken all available steps available to you to actually do what you need to do, and basically keep your credit score in check with them and show that you're doing the right thing.
Well, I guess the other instance, or I guess thing that people can do is really try to reduce their tax anyway. What are some benefits or some best ways to do this? Adding to super, I know, is one.
Yes, yep. So and look, that's really important. Like from a business, we'll talk business perspective, is that an annual tax planning meeting is really important, sort of come April, May, where you sit down your account and actually go through what the year has looked like. So for example, we would look at 2025 in April of next year and go, well, what's our expected profit? And actually look to make some changes around putting some more money into super. It might be that you could buy some equipment or bring that forward before 30 June because it will be deductible for you in this financial year. So there are certainly, other things that you can do, but it's important to look at everything first, sit down, have that conversation, and then actually plan it out rather than making decisions off the cuff that, if you've already done it, we can't necessarily change some things.
What is the industry saying about the super changes that are coming in 2026 and how they could potentially affect small to medium businesses as well?
Yeah, look, those super changes and having to pay basically every time that you run your payroll, it's certainly going to be a huge cash flow consideration and I think it will make businesses need to sit up and be like, well, do we still pay weekly? Do we push that to fortnightly? Because you will literally be paying your super every time you do a weekly pay run. So look, it's great for employees in that it's making sure that people are getting, it's making it harder for people not to be paid their super, because this still, unfortunately, is a real thing. People, companies are not paying the entitlements they're meant to be paying for their staff. So by doing it every week, every month, it's less gaps and less holes for people to not do the right thing. But it certainly is going to be a cash flow consideration, because where you were waiting a quarter to pay that, you're now paying it every single week, every single month. So it's going to be something that, again, we should be planning for. We should be looking ahead to that, and even now, I would say get in the habit of doing it monthly rather than wait quarterly. Even now, even though that's the law, get in the habit of doing it monthly, and then at least you're getting your way into that new rhythm, into that new habit.